So today we're going to be talking about exponents and order of operations. This is an important topic, one that you are going to need to know. Your first quiz is going to have lots of work on this, and it's a good indication of where you sit in this class. So I just want to show you a problem. This one here, you don't have this in your book and you don't need it out. To copy it out, but it just says 35 minus 15 divided by 5 plus 4 times 3 minus 4 plus 2 to the exponent of 2. A lot of times when I ask this question, what students do is they tend to read and do the question in the order that they appear. So they start in the leftmost side and they work their way to the right. So what they would do is they would take 35 minus 15, and they would say that that is 20. And then they would do 20 divided by 5 is equal to 4, plus 4 is 8, times 3, and so on and so forth. They just keep doing things from left to right. In math, we don't do it that way. We have what's called a specific order that we do, and it's called order of operations. And this will always give us the right answer. This is our standard way in doing things in math. What I'm going to talk about here is we are going to first discuss exponents. Okay, so you have a couple exponent examples and we're going to work on them next. So your first exponent example looks like this. Negative 3 to the exponent 3. Okay, now the fun part about exponents is some of you may remember that you can write this out in expanded form. So this would be saying negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Okay, right away we should know that because there's an odd amount of negative integers, we know our answer is going to be negative. So that's something that you should know. Now, I don't want you to sit there in your calculator and type negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. I'm showing you this expanded form so that you know what this is actually talking about. So you actually, on your calculators, because all of you should have a scientific calculator, you should have an exponent button. It was a little bit difficult for me to explain it on the computer or through the screen, so I'm going to try and write them out and see how you do. So if I were to, right here, if I were to do negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, you get an answer that is negative 27. And that's your answer. Now, I don't have to do negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Like I said, you have an exponent button. This part here is your base, the negative 3. This part here is your exponent. It tells you how many times you're going to multiply that base. So there's a couple of buttons that you have on your calculator. Your first thing that you want to type into your calculator is the base. And you're going to notice the base is in brackets. So I'm going to write down the sequencing of steps that I would take, and you can follow along and try and find the exponent button if you haven't done so already. Okay, the easiest way to do this is you would hit bracket, negative 3, bracket, and then some of you have this button on your calculator. It's an X with a little 3. If you press bracket, negative 3, bracket, and you hit that X with the exponent 3, that's your X cubed button, it should automatically give you a negative 27. That's your first way that you can do this. Your second way that you can do this is if you don't have an X cubed button, you would type in, again, bracket, negative 3, bracket. You could have an X with a little Y button. You would press that. That's saying you're raising it to the exponent, and you would then have to type in the exponent 3, and you would get your answer of negative 27. Another way that you could do this is you may have a button that looks like this. Negative 3. This is your exponent button. If you have a little arrow that goes up. It's saying to the power of, and then again you have to type in 3, which you will still get when you hit the equal sign, you still get negative 27. The last and final exponent button that I'm aware of is negative 3. This is getting really weird to write on. And it's a button that looks like this. It has a little square, and then it has a big square and then a little square. If you hit that, it's negative 3 to the exponent of 3. Now, some of your calculators, you do not have to put the brackets in because it automatically, puts the brackets in there for you. Okay, so I'm hoping that you're able to find your exponent button. And if you are not, then I'm hoping that you are going to ask for help from a partner. So I'll just give you a couple seconds to figure life out and to ask them. I'm going to erase this because we don't really need this. Okay, we're going to practice some other exponent buttons here. Okay, so here it just says 3 to the exponent 2. So again, just so you know, some of you may have an x2 button. You can just type in the base of 3 and hit your x2 button, and you should get the answer. Again, we do not want to put in our calculator 3 times 3. That is the last thing we want to do. We want to use our exponent button. So if you put in 3 squared, I'm hoping you get 9. Now, if you put in here bracket negative 3 bracket squared, give you a second to enter that in. You should also get 9. Again, why is that? Again, if we look at this in the expanded form, which you do not have to write this out, this is saying we take negative 3 and we multiply it twice. Well, there's 2 negative integers, and we know because 2 is an even number that the answer is going to be positive. Okay, the next one here is negative 2 to the exponent 4. Now, I'll give you a minute. I want everybody to try this. This one here, there is no X4 button. You will either have to use your XY button, your arrow button, or the little square button here to show that that's to the power of 4. So you'll hit bracket negative 2 bracket to the exponent of 4. Okay, I'm hoping that all of you got an answer of positive 16. If you got negative 16, that means you forgot to put in the brackets, and you must take the brackets in. Again, if you think about this logically, this is writing this in expanded form. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Oops, direct negative sign. And we know from Friday that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 negative integers. 4 is an even number. So because that's an even number, we know that our answer should always be positive. Okay, D. D says negative 5 to the exponent 3. And again, you can type in your base of negative 5 to the exponent 3. And you should get negative 125. Okay, I'm hoping again, if you have any problems with your calculator with this, that you are asking somebody for help who can help you out, okay? So that's the first step, is I wanted you to make sure that you know how to use your calculator and your exponent button. It's important to use the same calculator so you know how to use it, because some calculators can be more a little bit more complicated. Some of you did not have to put in the brackets because your calculator already did that. Some of you had to put in the brackets so that you got the correct answer. Okay, so we've already taken care of this. We know that this answer is negative 27. You have all of your other answers on your paper. And now we're going to fill in this little chart here. This is a visual, a graphic organizer to help you with Bedmas. Bedmas is an acronym that tells you the order in which you must perform things. So on the top here, we are going to write the letter B. B means brackets. So I'm going to write here brackets. Okay, so what brackets actually mean? They're not the multiplication brackets. Brackets, I'm just going to write off to the side here. There's something to do inside the bracket. This would be an example of a bracket. 3 plus 2. You can actually write 3, you can actually do what's inside the bracket. It's not multiplication. Remember, brackets also mean multiplication, so you have to be able to do something in order to do your brackets first. Then we have our exponent, which is our e, which we just talked about. We take care of our exponents first. And then on our next line here, this is interesting that they are side by side. So I have D and I have M. I divide and I multiply. So what that means, and why it has an arrow, why it's beside each other, is if all you have left is division and multiplication in your equation, nothing else, just divide and multiply, what you do, and you're going to copy this out, always multiply and divide from left to right. You do not have to divide before you do multiplication first, it just goes from left to right. So I'll give you a second to copy that down. And the final step is the final two are A and S. Add and subtract. And again, you're going to notice here that those two are beside each other, so it's also in the same piece here. Always add and subtract from left to right, so I'll get you to write that down beside that as well. Okay, you also have an example on your page here that's copied out. So we're going to do this. Now there's a couple of things that you need to know and a couple of rules you need to know. And I'm very specific with this, that if you do not show steps in the way that I'm going to show you, you are going to be losing marks. So I know some of you maybe got your grade 8 or 7 and 8 teachers weren't very particular about how you solve problems like this. I am, so it's really important that you follow along here and that you show all the steps the way that I did. So please don't do this a version of your way. We are doing proper mathematical form. So I have here 17 minus 5 squared divided by bracket 2 plus 3. Okay, first of all, we have one equal sign per line. I'm going to start at the top here, and I notice at the top I have a B. What can I do with my B? What does B represent? B represents brackets, so I'm going to do my brackets, which is this part here. Now, I know it's at the end. That's okay. I'm still going to write down everything at the beginning. So I'm going to write 17 minus 5 squared divided by. Now, this is the only piece I'm going to change. I'm only going to touch my brackets. I have to rewrite the equation out every time. Some of you may think, well, why do I have to do that? It's proper mathematical form. It shows your work. It shows your thinking very clear. So 2 plus 3 gives me 5. Okay, so I am done my first line. Is equal to. Okay, so I've taken care of my B. Next is exponents. Do I have an exponent? Yes, I do. There's my exponent, 5 squared. So I start at the beginning. What comes first? 17 comes first, so I write 17 down. Minus 5 squared. What does 5 squared give me? Put that in my calculator. I'm going to just change this color. Put that in my calculator, and I get 25 divided by 5. Okay, so I've taken care of the E. I got rid of my exponent. So again, I'm writing out the entire equation each time. I'm only changing one piece of the equation. My next step, so I now have brackets, exponents, that's done. I now look on my chart. What comes next? Division and multiplication. Do I have any division and multiplication? Yes, I do. This is my division. So what do? I write 17 minus, when I do 25 divided by 5, put that into my calculator, I get 5. Then your final answer is 12. Okay, so again, I'm writing out the equation each time. On your test, this will be worth 1 mark, 2 marks, 3 marks, 4 marks. If you are missing any one of these steps, you are missing easy marks. So it's really important that you show all of your steps. You only do one thing at a time, and you write the whole equation out each time. Please don't do a different version of this. I'm going to go through lots of examples right now that you can practice and see how I want your homework and all of your work to be done. Okay, so here is my first example when you open up your book inside. Okay, my first question, so you're going to notice here I have Bedmas written on the side, and you also have Bedmas written on the side of yours. So my first question is, do I have brackets? Now a lot of students say, yes, you have brackets. Look, they're right here. You actually don't have brackets because there's nothing to do inside those brackets. Those brackets actually mean multiplication. So we don't have any brackets. So I know I don't have brackets. Do I have any exponents? No, I do not. Do I have any division? No, I do not. So actually, I am going to do my multiplication first. So what do? Equals, and I write out my whole equation. The only thing I'm going to change is this piece right here. Negative 4 plus. Now on my calculator, I'm going to multiply. What does negative 2 times 3 give me? Negative 2 times 3 gives me negative 6. You're going to notice I've separated those signs, or the double signs, with a bracket. Negative 4 plus negative 6. Now, what students have a tendency to do is they say, oh, I'm just going to get rid of the double signs here. Please don't do that. We only get rid of double signs when we add and subtract, when all we have is adding and subtracting left. So make sure you don't get rid of the double signs. Now I can get rid of the double signs. I have here, again, you're going to lose a mark if you miss this step, a positive and a negative. If you forget, you can look back in your notes, but I replace that, I rewrite that as negative 4 minus 6. And then I can rewrite that once you put that into your calculator is -10. So as I'm doing these examples, again, you should have your calculator out and you should be verifying these answers with it. And if you're having any difficulties, put a star beside it and ask me for help or ask somebody for help to make sure that you know what's going on. Okay, let's do our second example. So the first step here, again, I start with B. Brackets. Do I have any brackets? Yes, I do. There's actually two sets of brackets. Only one of them is the bracket here that we're talking about. This bracket actually has math to do inside of it. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take a -6 and I'm going to add that with 8. And I get, the only thing that I'm going to change, I get 2. Then I rewrite the entire equation afterwards. So this gets replaced with 2. Then I repeat. I still write that in brackets 5 minus 7. Okay, do I have exponents? No. Do I have division? No. Do I have multiplication? Yes. Why do I have multiplication? Because I have this bracket here, this 2 and that 5, and we know that that means multiplication. So 2 times 5, that gives me, when we put that inside our calculator, 10 minus 7. And we get our final answer. We can just do that, which I get 3. Okay, I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a minute, and I want you to get started about what you would do to write down all of your steps. Go. Okay, my first step here, again, I'm going to start here. Hopefully you have something written out. Again, I want you to make sure that everything that I'm talking about here, you have on your page. So, B starts with brackets. Do I have any brackets? Yes, I do. I have something that I can do inside that bracket. Can I do? I'm going to be doing division. So you should have done 8 divided by 4. In your calculator, you would have gotten 2. Then you have to rewrite this entire equation over. Do I have any exponents? No. Do I have any division? Yes. So now we must divide. So on your next line, what did you write? 2 divided by 2, that should have given you 1. Then you write the +3 because we're only doing one thing per line. And then your final answer should have been 4. I'm hoping all of you got this. Again, if you didn't, we need to ask for help, okay? Okay, the next one here. So now we have some exponents, which is good. We need to practice our exponents. So, Bedmas here. Start with brackets. Okay, do I have brackets? Yes, I do. There they are. Okay, so I start off by rewriting the entire equation. 8 squared plus 5 bracket. Now, why am I still writing brackets there? Well, because it's saying I have to take 5, multiply it by this answer cubed. So that there's still multiplication there. So inside my equation, or my, in my brackets, it says -4 plus 2. -4 plus 2 gives me -2 in brackets, and then I still have that little 3. So I've just taken care of my brackets. Now, again, if you had to tell me what you're doing here, this is saying 8 squared plus 5 times -2 cubed. That's what that means. Next comes exponents. Do I have exponents? Yes, I do. I have 2 sets of exponents. 1, 2. So on my next line, do I have to do that that step separate? No, I do not need to do it separate. I can write it. I can do both of those on the same step. So it's going to look something like this. 8 squared, when you put in your calculator, 64. Continue to rate everything else the same. Plus 5, bracket. Careful when you put this in. -2 to the exponent 3 gives me -8. So again, I still have the brackets there that's saying 5 times -8. Do I have any division? No. Do I have any multiplication? Yes, I do, because brackets mean multiplication. So I'm going to underline this. There's the multiplication. I rewrite everything else the same. 64 comes first. Plus 5 times -8 gives me -40. Another thing that I've noticed is that students want to rearrange the equation. So if they were doing 5 times -8, they would put that first. Please don't rearrange it. You're always writing it in the same order that it appeared, because you're going to get confused and it's going to change things. So again, from here, I notice I have a double sign. So we can rewrite that as 64 minus 40 equals 24. So again, you're eliminating the double sign there. Okay, I'm hoping that this makes sense, and I cannot drill it or say it anymore, but you need to make sure that you're following this in the exact same order that we're doing it here. Please don't do your own version of this. Okay, finally, there was an EQAO question that was very similar to this one. This is example 5. So please, when you have this, there's a division sign here. So I want you to think of this as your top divided by your bottom. So there's an implied bracket here. We do the top, we do the bottom, and then we divide. So anytime you see that, so you want to be careful with that. So I'm going to do the top first. What does the top give me when I do that? 4 squared. 4 squared gives me 16. And I'm going to put divided by -12 plus 10. So I took care of my top. Now I'm going to take care of the bottom. So I'm still going to write 16 divided by, when I do the bottom here, -12 plus 10 gives me -2. Well, no, it's just a straight division question. 16 divided by -2 gives me -8. Okay, so I've just gone through probably about 6 examples of Bedmas questions, order of operations. You are going to get a half sheet of paper. You are going to complete, I think there's 7 questions on there. The answers are at the bottom, so please make sure you check your work. Again, remember 1 equal sign per line. Write the entire equation out in each step. And please, 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 please only do 1 step per line. Okay, good luck, and I will see you tomorrow.